One of the things that you did so well in power was protect Australian borders. We've had 3 boatloads of people arrive recently. Are you worried that we're not secure in our borders at the moment under this Labor government?
I always get worried because Labor has a bad track record. We secured the borders. When I lost office in 2007, Kevin Rudd said, "Oh, we'll keep the borders safe and we'll do this," but they thought they could have their cake and eat it. And they mucked around and abolished things, and before long the immigration program was out of control. Now, I hope that we are not seeing the beginnings of that, but I do worry. I don't want to jump to conclusions, and it's for the government and the opposition of the day to argue the toss on what these arrivals mean. But what is important is that you must never send ambiguous messages to people smugglers. They will pounce, they will exploit, they will try and drive a wedge, and I worry.
No, Dad used to tell me all the time about the messages that were used by these lowest scum of the earth people smugglers, and you're right. Any even perception of weakness they use, and they are low.
Well, you know from experience of somebody who were very close to your dad that just how challenging keeping our borders secure is, and it's essential to maintaining public support for a high immigration program. I believe in immigration. Immigration's helped this country enormously, and I believe in this country having the capacity to take refugees as part of the immigrant intake. You'll only maintain public support for that if the public thinks that the whole thing is being administered properly.
You've got to get them on side, believe in why you're doing it.
And once you look as though you're losing control, they start withdrawing their support, and I don't blame them.
John, looking at the situation at the moment, Israel, Gaza, Penny Wong made some comments today about recognising a Palestinian state. A lot of people have been very angry about that, saying that she's essentially rewarding terrorism. What's your thoughts on those statements and how the Australian government is handling this conflict?
I think this government, and Penny Wong in particular, has demonstrably failed to react in the right way to the attack on Israel on the 7th of October last year. There were more Jews killed in that attack than in any incident since the Holocaust. And I am just staggered that the government didn't, from the get-go, say, whatever differences we have, we must never, ever sound as though we don't care about the re-emergence of anti-Semitism. I mean, what was done to the Jewish people by the Nazis, the most monstrous act of inhumanity in the whole of recorded history. And I just don't think the government has been tough enough and firm enough and unambiguous enough. Now, as for having a Palestinian state as well as the state of Israel, the Arab world has never accepted Israel's right to exist. Way back in 1947, when the first president of the United Nations was Dr. Everett, who was a Labor Party leader, Israel was created with the sanction, the authority of the United Nations. And yet, through the years, various attempts have been made to have a two-state solution. I mean, of course the Palestinian people are entitled to their legitimate aspirations, but I have yet to see clear evidence that the Arab world, the Palestinians and the Arab world in general, will accept Israel's right to exist behind secure, defensible, internationally respected boundaries. And until that happens, it's just feeding aggression and terrorism to pretend otherwise.
John, we're here at the Opera House. Part of this reason and part of the reason Julian and Lisa wanted to host this event here was to reclaim the Opera House, because those images that went around the world, the celebration of the vicious, callous death of Jewish Israelis by Hamas, chanted on the steps of this Opera House. Is tonight important to reclaim that back, even symbolically?
Well, I think what happened outside the Opera House after the 7th of October brought shame on our country. I don't think it would have happened if from the very beginning a lead had been given. People react to leads, and it's the role of a Prime Minister, it's the role of a government to give a lead. And if from the very beginning it had been clearly stated as the policy of the Australian government that no matter what our other differences are, one thing we will not tolerate is the re-emergence of any semblance of anti-Semitism.
Isn't he just incredible? Wow.